Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 16 of Carry On With Carrie podcast. Today, it's just me, and I haven't done this on my own for a little bit, so it'll be fun and see where it goes and where my imagination can take me, and what kind of expectations I can put on myself. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk to everyone about today, and just it's been something on my mind, and it's been something that has, always been because I'm an overthinker, because my brain has the capacity to leap ahead very quickly with many different scenarios. Um, I'm I'm somebody who I think, has had great expectations, um, and then the anticipation of you know what will come from those expectations. So, the more I kind of look at myself, and what that means is, you're the only one who can put that on yourself. You're the only one that can say, I think that's going to happen. You can look at the outcome. You can look at, so somebody comes to you with, hey, by the way, we need to meet next week, and don't worry, it's nothing major. But where does your brain go? Well, my brain goes to this. Well, what did I do? Or what are they going to say? Did I disappoint them? Did should I expect the best? Should I expect the worst? There's all sorts of different things that we can expect from um, our expectation. Well, expect from our expectations, right? Anyways, um, how does that help us? I mean, has it served us somewhere in the past that if I look ahead of time as to what the outcome could be, um, is this based on actual information? Is it based on something that it's almost like a reflex or a response from past experiences? I know for myself, it often is. If there was ever a negative experience that happened that maybe I didn't anticipate, and then it happened, you're forewarning yourself. Okay, well, guess what, Carrie, this time this could happen. Be prepared. This time you could, the ball could drop. Somebody could say something that you don't want to hear. They may not, maybe they're going to fight with you. Maybe they're going to, be mad at you, or, there's so many number of things that it could be. And so that's the whole point. Is it conjecture, or is it, we all have wonderful imaginations, but to conjecture is to put in the opinion or conclusion formed on the basis of incomplete information. So I believe that I do that a lot. So we can take one problem and like I said, put all these different scenarios to it. Does that mean it's true? No. Does that mean that's how the outcome is going to be? No. Could it? Yes. And I guess that's the point, is how does this affect your mental health? I know for me, I can get myself into such a state of anxiousness. Um, like, I get worked up. I could get angry all of a sudden, or sad. Uh, or excited, like that anticipation of, oh, it's my birthday, and guess what, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and then none of those things happen, so then you are let down at the end, right? So there's all these different things that play out when we have huge expectations. um, do I think that there's, expectations can also lead us to feeling excitement, but it's learning how to control those, and not allow those expectations to affect us deeply. And I say that because I know it's funny, you'll see it at work, you'll see it in your personal life. And you might be the deliverer of that information to somebody else that, hey, by the way, we need to have a talk later. Or, hey, by the way, we're going to have a meeting coming up here, or we're going to go over your job competency. We're going to have a different conversation about this or that. And your brain can tell you all this stuff. And, imagination, for example, it's a mental image or a concept of something. Like, I couldn't imagine what she was going to tell me. Or could I imagine what she's going to tell me? You can also think, well, I think they are imagining things. Well, I know for myself, I imagine things all the time. And that is a wonderful thing to have, is a great imagination, but it can be to a fault as well. So just like feelings, I guess we have to watch how we perceive a situation, a person, a future event, and quite honestly, the past. Because sometimes we look back at the past and we can conclude or conjecture something that we believe is to be true about what happened in a conversation, which can leave you wondering what that next conversation will be. So it's all kind of tied together. And how can that affect your mental health? I mean, in so many ways, like I said, anxiety and avoidance, most definitely. Belief. Belief is an acceptance that a statement is true or that something actually exists. To trust, to have faith or confidence in someone or something. So trust. So I let into the trust part of there as well. Trust does not come from our belief system. Trust comes from examples throughout our lives, from situations where we believe we've been let down, perhaps, or we've been able to confide and trust in somebody. Faith, though, is having a complete trust or confidence in something. So how can you look towards something with complete faith when people say that? I have complete faith in you. Now, is that truth? Is that based on what? What are we basing these things off of? You can project all kinds of things, mental images versus reality. I mean, we sit back and we believe our own reality. And the only person that can control the outcome of a situation in the future, in the moment, I mean, really, the only thing we can control is in that moment. And I would argue to say it's not control, it's navigation. I mean, we're all navigating in this world, and we're all navigating to figure out, so many things. I think that, I guess the point I'm trying to make here with this, and oftentimes when I will bring up a subject like this, it's probably to do with something that I've been going through or that I've noticed with other people. And an expectation. I know I've been let down before. I've been let down in the past, but it was always because of my great imagination. Did I have faith in that person? I guess that's where I was going with that. Faith and trust. So if you have these expectations based on past experiences and letdowns or wins, that leads you to your faith and your trust. So is it that you trust the other person, or you have faith in someone else? Or is it that you have faith in yourself? You have trust in yourself. So if you have those things for yourself, because that's really the only person you can have faith and trust in. Now, others may say that's wrong, and that's fine. But really, when it comes down to it, we all know that the one common denominator in our lives is ourselves. And in order to, that's kind of where that self-love thing comes in. So in order to trust someone else's responses, trust the outcome from other people, trust the outcome from an event, is to trust yourself. So if you know that you're walking into a moment that you're unsure of, your expectations are really high. Okay? You've put this huge amount of pressure on that moment. 9 times out of 10, you go into a situation that you've been having all of these moments of worry and fret, and um, to find out that it was none of those things in the first place. You just need to relax. And guess what? It usually works out great. The communication, especially as you learn to trust yourself. And that's, I guess, what I'm trying to say is, in trusting your reaction and your faith in the situation and in yourself, you can get through any of those moments, any of those expected or anticipated moments. Because often, okay, say there's a review coming up at work, and you find out on Tuesday that you're going to be reviewed on Friday. Well, what's going through your mind? Oh my God, did I get that report done in time? Did I do it properly? Did I communicate with the team the way I should have? Um, am I showing that I care about my job? Like, I mean, you could literally think of any possible scenario. Did I get the donuts I should have gotten for work yesterday? Like, um, nobody else can, I mean, yeah, we all have expectations on other people. Trust me, we all have, like, well, I expect you to do this, and you should be doing that, and that, and that. But when it comes right down to it, those expectations of you are brought on by somebody else, and it's the way you handle them. It's the way you bring yourself to that table and to that meeting on the Friday when your review comes. How is it that you handle that moment? Do you handle it with fear? You can handle it with excitement instead of fear, and be like, this is exciting. I actually get to sit down and talk to my boss or my coworker about what new possibilities there are. Um, instead of putting that negative, I'm scared, anxious feeling on those moments, put into it like how you would want to make somebody else feel in that situation. And I think 9 times out of 10, I keep saying that, but most people want somebody else that they're speaking to or communicating with to feel comfort, to feel like there's going to be a good outcome. I mean, I guess it's not true for everyone or everything, but I guess where I'm trying to get at here is, for myself, I know I've spent so much time anticipating moments and blowing them up in my own mind about what people will think of me and how I might make somebody else feel, or how I did make somebody else feel. Um, in that it's like a speech to yourself, just this dialogue over and over and over again, and how that affects your mental health. I mean, that's oftentimes for me where the downward spiral comes from. And I know for me, when you're like, because that's all correlated to me, it's all kind of based on overthinking. So you can basically um, overspin anything, any conversation you had during the day, um, a song that you heard. We all know what, like, a look that you got as you drove past somebody in your car and there was a road rage thing. Um, because of the pace of our world and how fast everything is going, I think even with social media, TikTok, all of the platforms, when you're looking at, 10 to 30-second videos every day, where our brains are moving so fast. And it's no wonder that we have that, I think they call it the monkey brain, where you're just like from one thing to the other thing to the other thing. And um, that's a form of overthinking, obviously. And if you get really good at that, because that's how you've trained your brain to be for so long, and it's a defense mechanism that somehow has worked for you, it gives you a feeling of like, okay, well, if I can think about it this way, if I can anticipate that this is what's going to happen and this is what the outcome is going to be, then I can protect myself. I can make this moment okay. And when it happens, I'll be prepared for whatever might come from it. Well, again, we don't always need all that preparation. I think that we can overcomplicate almost everything in some way. Because when you look back on actual conversations you have, of course, there's going to be heated moments and times of disagreements and being uncomfortable and perhaps hearing something you don't want to hear. But even after those moments, when you actually take the time to step back and look at if you could be hovering over that conversation later and rewinding back to it, picking out the things from a different perspective, not just in your head, like you're projecting, like you're looking down and you're thinking, you know what? Maybe if my mind wasn't so filled up with all of the things that I was thinking about in that moment that I already knew were going to happen because I can predict the future. Maybe you would be able to focus more in that moment, in that time, so that you don't react in a way that can be harmful, both to yourself or to the person you're communicating with. I think that, again, we just overcomplicate so many things. I don't know if this makes a ton of sense to anybody. I'll probably play this back and be like, what do I mean by that? Or am I all over the place? But you know what? Again, this is, an expectation I have on myself to sit here and talk to an audience on my own and do it perfectly and with no mistakes. And this is just me. And I think that more people can relate than than most of us realize with this exact thing. You know, my general experience with most human beings, well, there's some pretty shitty people out there. Let's not lie. Okay. There's some just crappy things that happen, and, nothing's perfect. But I think generally speaking, I know in my case, most people have good intentions and mean well and come from a generally good place. And if you really kind of break down all the bad experiences you may have had in your life and put it into perspective. Someone once told me, well, you know what? And they were 97 years old when they told me this, by the way. Well, my husband he drank. He drank for this long, and they didn't tell me exactly how long at the time that they were first explaining it. And they said, I told them, I'm going to cut you off. You're not going to get any from me if you don't stop drinking. Until you smarten up, you're not getting any from me. And I thought that was funny because it was coming from an older woman, and just funny to hear that. And I asked them, I said, okay, well, how long did they drink for? Like, how long in their life? Like, were they drinking for a really long time, their whole life? Like, what was this? And putting it into perspective, she says, oh, I think it was probably about 10 years. And you think about that. It's like, in the grand scheme of things, that was 10 years out of a 90-year life. And not to say that those 10 years don't count, they do. But if you put it into perspective, again, all the things that perhaps happened to you in the past that were harmful to you or felt harmful to you, and you needed to use this anticipation and expectation in your mind and imagination and all those things, you needed those things to help you get into that next thing. How many bad things were there actually? How many things? How long did that last? Did it serve you in that moment? Perhaps it did. Perhaps it served you the next time it happened. But as you made that a habit, you can also make trusting yourself, trusting your judgment in a moment, trusting that you've got your own back, trusting that you are strength and hope and love. Then you know what? That's how you change that cycle. At least that's what I believe. I believe that we all have that capacity to change the future events in our minds. I can't change anybody else, but I can use the tools that I've been given over time. And instead of taking those warning bells, it's going off and saying, be careful, like danger ahead, this is going to be bad, and or whatever it may be, turn those narratives around and say, this is a really good opportunity. I am, bring excitement to it. Fear and excitement are very similar emotions and feelings. And instead of bringing the fear and the anxiousness to it, bring the excitement and the challenge. I mean, be excited for the challenge of what it could be and the opportunity to show your strength in communication, to show that you got this. And when I look at other people who seem to have that confidence, and I think that we all have moments where we're confident, and I think we all have moments where we're not confident. And again, it depends on what you think you're good at and when you think you're not good at, or any of those things. But when I look at somebody and I think, wow, they sure have it together. They sure know what the hell they're talking about. Sometimes I think, well, am I inferior? I'm down here. Like, how do they do that? How do they show so much confidence? They're speaking in a crowd of, millions of people, or they're on TV, or there's a situation that, they're singing in the middle of a karaoke bar, and they seem completely in their place and in their element. What do they have that I don't have, and how can I get that? Well, it takes practice. And as you practice and practice and practice and let yourself know that you got your own back, that you can make that next outcome that you expected, that you anticipated, that you had expectations on, and you can make it positive and, yeah, a learning lesson for yourself, for the person you're with, and, just stop judging what isn't. Because if it's not there, there's nothing to judge. There's nothing to even project. Like, projection is a mental image. It's not reality. It's viewed as reality, but it's not. It's it's like an unconscious transfer of your own desires and emotions with other people. And I think that if we start having, have a conversation with yourself first and say, does this make sense? Because sometimes when you're in your own head and you're expecting something, you can like get all these things out and in your mind. But if they're not spoken out loud, because I find oftentimes like this power and momentum that comes behind thoughts, when you start saying them out loud, it's all like that power and momentum kind of goes away, and you're like, oh, well, that didn't sound as bad as I thought, or that maybe wasn't quite as dramatic as I was thinking in my brain. Um, you know, it happens all the time. Or, oh my God, I was thinking this, it was so good, I wish that I could have said it out loud. Well, guess what? It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be like life changing. And yeah. So anyways, I am kind of carrying on right now, no pun intended. Anyways, I hope that this made some sense. I might have been kind of all over the place. And you know what? Whatever. If I was, I was. And that's just something that will happen. I mean, talking for me is, it's good to get my voice out there. It's good to say what I need to say. Um, a good one of my good examples of expectations. I did a meditation for a group of ladies last night, and I so I just started doing that last year, leading meditations, and oh, I'll tell you the fear and the terror that would come with it, and what I would expect from myself in these moments. I would get myself into such a state, like just, all wound up and almost feeling sick. And it's like, well, that's not the point of meditation. The whole point of meditation is to, at least for me anyways, is to feel calm and to bring yourself to center and ground yourself, and um, bring something to yourself for that day, um, and just be for the moment. But because I was leading them, this was last year. So last night, anyways, last year I was like just anxiety ridden, and even the next day I would just feel exhausted. I did a meditation for the first time last night in a long time, and I went into it, and it was a busier one than normal even. And I went into it thinking, you know what, Carrie, you got this. You got this. And yeah, did I have a bit of, I reframed it. I actually had to say to myself, hey, are you afraid of this? Are you scared to do this? Are you nervous to do this? And instead I was like, you know what? No, I'm not. I'm excited to do this. Um, I'm I'm curious to see how it goes. Um, I'm going to trust that it's going to go the way it's supposed to go. And I did have control in that moment. And you know what? My mind, while I was doing the meditation, it wound up being, I think it went pretty good. Um, the room felt amazing and loving and all those things. And I think the difference is almost like a light bulb went off, and I'm like, huh, am I starting to trust myself here? Wow. Wow. Yes, I did. And things just started to feel right. And when I left last night, I felt lighter. I felt kind of proud of myself, to be quite honest. And I also had the realization, that's partly why I wanted to talk to you about this today, or bring up this topic, because I realized, wow, I did this. I went through the beginning, the middle, and the end, and I wasn't terrified. I wasn't anxious. Did I have a few moments of, okay, take a deep breath, you're going to be good? Yeah, of course I did. But it was the first time, like, I was very observant of the fact of how I was feeling prior to, during, and after. And I made myself very aware of all of those moments, so that when I looked back, it's like, well, what was different? Why did I not have such a, um, why do I not feel tired today, basically, is what I look today and I think, why? Because you realized in that moment last night that you had the ability to trust what you were doing, that you could do it, and that the only person that you can control in their thoughts, their judgment, and their feelings is yourself. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, some expectations can be great. Some expectations can be unrealistic. Some expectations can be just your imagination. And I challenge you to take a moment to write down or get out of your head. Like, how they say the pros and cons of things? Or just say it out loud and be like, What is the truth in this? What do I actually know to be true? And can you actually answer that you know any of the things that you thought are true? That's a challenge right there to figure out, well, yeah, when I think about that, I actually can't say that's true. And yeah, so anyways, I've gone on long enough, and I just wanted to, I guess I'll give you something that the last best thing that I do at the end of my day. Um, for me, it's it's something as simple as, okay, I'm going to make sure that I took whatever vitamins or pills or whatever that is, I take my medication. I grab myself a glass of water. I make sure that I've got my blanket all nice and warm and my pillows fluffed the way I like. I do watch a show. I think I've said this before. I do watch a couple of one of the show that I like, and or I listen to soft music or the sound of waves, and again, try to think of something that is to dream about that's positive, something to dream about that, and that's the whole point. It's a dream. It's not an expectation. It's just a dream. And you can dream whatever you want to dream. And that really, like, somebody gave me that about a month ago, kind of put that in my mind. And it's really made a huge difference for me because it's like, oh, wow, I can dream that. I can't expect that, but I can dream that. Thank you for listening. And I'm really very grateful for the support that I've gotten so far. I cannot tell you I'm an expert. I'm not. I'm just somebody with a point of view, and I'm really eager to share the experiences of other people and how they've dealt with mental health. And this episode here was, maybe I rambled off here and there, but I hope it helps at least one person. That's all I'm aiming for. If you feel the need to share, I would love that. It would mean so much to me. You can follow me on Instagram at Carry On With Carrie _podcast. And you can follow me on Facebook at Carry On With Carrie podcast. Next week, I'm excited to introduce, her name is Mary Sorobi. She's a CEO. She is the CEO of Sorobi Psychology. This is pretty exciting stuff. I'm excited to have her here. I actually got her book in the mail today, so I've already started reading a part of it, and it's called The Purpose-Driven Paycheck. Gina Redzanek is the author, and my guest next week, Mary Sorobi, is an author in one of the chapters. And just to give you kind of like a sneak, Mary Sorobi is an addictions and self-empowerment expert, a registered psychologist with the College of Alberta Psychologists and Psychologists Association of Alberta. She holds a master's degree in counseling. She's the owner and founder of Sorobi Psychology Center, her private psychology practice, and Sorobi assessments, providing proactive workplace addictions assessments and education. She believes in the power of hope and that each person is an expert in their own life. But sometimes we need a little help to find that empowerment. I'm not going to read any more because there's lots to see from her next week, to hear from her next week. And I'm super excited. I'll have the link for that up next week as a sneak review. And thank you again. Just thank you for listening and showing your support. I would love if you would follow me on Spotify and share with one friend. That would be amazing. You would make my day. But I have no expectations. Love ya.